You are listening to Mostaccioli Murder, Book 1 of the Jade Sommer series, written by Nicolette Pierce. Copyright 2020. Audio copyright 2025 by Pierced Heart Publishing. Digitally narrated with full cast of voices. Chapter 14. After my delivery shift, I trudged upstairs to find Mom sitting at the kitchen table with a notebook and calculator. Her concentration was so focused on the notebook that she didn't notice me come in. It wasn't until I walked around her to get a glass of water that she blinked up at me. "Hi, Mom. I thought you'd be in bed by now. What are you working on?" She leaned back and scrubbed her face with her hand.
I talked to your brother about the text you sent today. I knew you were out on deliveries, but I wanted to know more about tomorrow's meeting.
"Sorry, Mom. I know it's not what you wanted to hear." She sighed.
Why wouldn't your father tell me this? Why would he keep it to himself?
"I don't know. Maybe you should ask him." I sat down at the table across from her. She shook her head.
Not right now. He needs to recover, and I'm too angry. We'll just have to figure this out without him. But when he's better, we're having a serious conversation.
Until then, Ross and I have a few ideas and we can talk them over tomorrow. And I'm trying to free up some money to help. Mom shook her head.
No more funneling money into the restaurant. If it can't stand on its own 2 feet, we're done.
I saw the resignation in her eyes. "We're not done yet." She pushed the notebook over to me.
We aren't just broke. We're over our heads in debt.
I glanced at the staggering numbers on the notebook. How did this happen?
I don't know. I pulled out all the finances from Clark's desk. I found loan after loan, credit card after credit card. I didn't know about any of this. There's no coming back from this. And if the restaurant closes, I'm afraid we might have to go bankrupt.
Restaurants typically didn't have a high profit margin. The amount of debt would be almost impossible to pay off even with a healthy restaurant. And ours was not healthy. I thought about the money that Alan owed me, but not even that would be enough to cover this debt.
I think we should close. It will break Aunt Dot's heart, but I don't see how to get out of this pit.
Let's just sleep on it. We'll come up with a plan tomorrow. If that means a closing plan, then that's it. But there might still be hope. Very little hope. It was past midnight, and I was sitting on the couch with my laptop. A giant goblet of wine sat next to me. I had already gone through the job listings, wondering if I should find a recruiter instead of hunting myself. Some of the larger companies left their searches to recruiters, so I might be better off going that route. But I had to admit my heart wasn't into searching for a job at present. While I wanted to get out from under the restaurant, it needed me right now. I didn't want to bail on everyone. But how much could I realistically do? Saving the restaurant required more than a bandage. It needed a miracle. I glanced at my email. Hoping for a wire transfer message from Alan, I was again disappointed. I'd give him until the end of tomorrow, and then I'd call him. My next dreaded task was logging into social media. It wasn't a chore I wanted to do, but I needed to begin the Alan purge. Slowly, of course. I wasn't sure how much my family paid attention to my pages, but I didn't want questions if I went nuclear on all things Alan. I started with images first, deleting one picture after another. His dazzling smile. Delete. His expensive suits. Delete. Him on a client's yacht. Delete. And him at a company party. I stopped. Stacy stood behind him in the background. Her intense gaze was on him. It was the stare of a predator on the prowl. I studied her for a moment and then moved to the date of the picture. Alan and I had been engaged for a week when this was taken. She had been after him since the beginning. With a calming breath, I deleted the photo. Shutting my computer, I slipped it back into my bag. I had much more to purge, but I felt the burn of tears threatening to spill, and I had promised myself I wouldn't cry over another man again. I drained the last of the wine and placed the glass in the kitchen, turning off lights as I made my way back to the couch. Snuggling under the covers, I hoped sleep would come quickly. However, my mind whirled, making sleep impossible. I wasn't sure how long I lay awake, but judging from the blanket twisting around me, I must have tossed and turned for a good hour. It was then that I heard a scratching noise. Stilling at the new sound, I strained to listen. The scratching came from the door. Was someone trying to get in? I scrambled off the couch, snatching my phone off the coffee table, and scurried to Mom's room and locked the door. Without turning on the light, I navigated the bedroom by the alley light that filtered through the curtains. As soon as I was near the bed, I reached out to touch her arm. "Mom, wake up," I whispered. She stirred but didn't wake. "Mom, wake up," I said, giving her arm a little shake. She snorted awake and then jolted upright, nearly butting my head. I backed away quickly.
"Jade, you scared me."
"Shh. I think someone is trying to break in."
"Did you call the police?"
she asked as she hopped out of bed, stepping on my foot. I muffled a cry as my foot throbbed, and then I jabbed my phone at her. She snatched it and dialed for emergency. As she talked to a dispatcher, I prowled through the darkness to find something to use as a weapon. Alarm clock? Maybe if I used the cord, I could strangle the intruder. But I didn't want to get that close to the person. Hairbrush, clothing, jewelry box. I was coming up short. Nothing in here would be useful to swing and hit with. Now I knew what I was getting them for Christmas: a baseball bat. As I continued my search, I listened for sounds beyond the locked door, but all I could hear was Mom whispering to the dispatcher. She was amazingly calm. I was not. My heart thudded. My pulse raced. And I was pretty sure my skin was conducting electricity the way it bristled and hummed. Giving up my search, I tiptoed over to the door to listen. Other than Mom's whispering, I didn't hear anything. The sound hit my ears louder than probably what it was. I wasn't sure what the noise was from, but I did know Mom and I weren't alone. Someone was definitely beyond the bedroom door. Turning to flag Mom, I gestured to the door. Her gaze was already locked on the door, indicating she might have heard the sound as well. I backed away to the window to peer down at the alley below. Would we survive a jump? The restaurant below didn't have a regular one-story height, making this jump that much more dangerous, especially landing on asphalt and the cigarette bucket. And with Mom full swing into her 50s, I didn't want to take the chance unless we had to. A siren blared in the distance. I had never paid attention to sirens in the past to know what kind of emergency vehicle it was, and being in the city, sirens were as common of a sound as a native pigeon caterwauling. While I hoped it was the police coming for us, I wasn't sure. Mom came over to the window as blue police lights grew closer, dancing over the street and alley. They were here for us. A breath caught in my throat, and I realized I had been holding my breath. A cough burst out of me, and once it was out, I couldn't stop coughing. It was as if my body was trying to reclaim what I had kept from it. Mom patted me on the back as if it would help. It did not. But after a few moments, the coughing faded, and in its place, hiccups reigned. A full-body hiccup rocked me as the police announced themselves. Moments later, a knock sounded on the bedroom door, along with another announcement that it was the police. Mom opened the door and spoke with an officer. They had performed a sweep of the apartment. Someone did break in, but they were gone. Relief of averted danger made my legs gooey, and suddenly I was more tired than I had been moments ago. I sat on the bed as Mom answered their questions. Yes, we were unharmed. No, we don't have security cameras. Yes, we'd check to see if anything is missing. Just as a hiccup rattled through me, A blanket was wrapped around my shoulders and a bottle of water was placed in my hand. I looked up to find Logan.
You okay?
When I hiccuped again, he pointed to the water. I opened it and drank a few sips, but the hiccups persisted. He sat next to me, the bed compressing slightly, leaning me toward him. And I didn't mind it so much. In fact, I'd like to have allowed my body to sway over to him to absorb some of his strength, his calmness. I don't know when the switch flipped, but one moment I had been in a semi-calm panic, and now I was hiccuping and gooey and shaky. When did I start shaking? I glanced over at Mom, who was handling the situation much better than I was. Logan put his arm around my shoulder, and just that light touch had me leaning against him. If someone had told me 10 years ago that I'd be wrapped up next to Logan, I'd have called them delusional. But right now, it was the only place I wanted to be, because I knew no matter the past, Logan would protect me.